In this video, I'm going to take the time to explain to you all of the steps of getting your real estate license all the way up to becoming successful in a real estate career. Now, my name is Robert Earl, and I've been helping individuals get into real estate since 2003. The first thing that we want to stop and take a look at is the prerequisites. Each state has their own specific requirements for getting into real estate, but they're usually generally the same. You have to be at least 18 years old. Some states allow for you to be licensed only if you're a resident of that state, and others will allow you as long as you're a resident of the United States. Now, you're going to need to have a high school graduate, or you need to have the GED equivalent, no felony record. If you have a specific case, you're going to need to check with the state and the state's real estate commission. They're the ones that can give you an answer as to whether or not your past information is going to be held against you, or whether or not you're going to be clear in order to get a license. And you also have to be in good standing. You can't have a revoked or suspended license in the last 2 to 3 year period. A lot of states are now adding in a background check and fingerprinting as part of the application process for getting your real estate license. Now, let's talk about the real estate course. You do have to take a real estate course. Every single state has a real estate course requirement. That course is for a minimum amount of hours. Some states, majority of the states, do allow for online courses. Others are a little bit stuck in the Stone Ages, shall we say, that they only allow for a classroom course. There are definitely benefits to the online course, the ability for you to finish the course quicker, for you to be able to set your own schedule. With the classroom course, you have to wait until the school has the next class that's going on, and then within the class has set schedule hours, and it'll be mandatory for you to attend in order to get credit for the number of required hours that are going on. Now, remember, the purpose of the course is really to prepare you for the final exam of the course and the final exam that is given for the national/state exam that's given by an independent testing center. The course does not teach you how to sell real estate. It's not going to teach you how to prepare for an open house, how to find buyers, how to find sellers. In most states, there's not even a sales contract or a listing agreement within the real estate class. So those are some things that you are going to have to remember when you go into the class, and this will also help you approach the class in understanding that there's information that you have to retain to be able to recall for a multiple choice test. Now, there's some benefits to the classroom course, and I have a guide to selecting a real estate course. I'm going to put a link to it up here so that you can check that out when you're done with this particular video. The benefits of the classroom course is it does have the instructor that's right there to ask questions. The instructor should be able to provide you some tips to help you pass the course, pass the exam. There also will be the interaction that you have with other students. Now, beware. That interaction with other students, they may be in a situation where they are actually slowing the class down because they're asking questions that, well, you'll usually be able to tell who actually read the material and who didn't by the questions that they're asking. The benefits of an online course is the online course is given in a similar format to the final exam. It's going to be online. When you take any test questions, they're going to be online, so you're going to get used to reading the test questions and being able to answer them. You'll be able to set your own schedule. So if you're already working a current job, or this is something where you have kids in the household, you'll be able to do your reading, get credit for the reading that you do online, and then pick it up again, log back in. With either one of the courses, you do not want to take a long period of time for your course. The online course, you want to get this done as quick as possible, because there's information that you're going to learn in chapter 1, chapter 2, or the first modules of the course that you're going to need to recall when it comes time for the final exam. Now, a potential drawback of the online course is the fact that you may not be as disciplined with your schedule. You may have something where if you don't have that classroom that's holding you there, it may become difficult for you with your own motivation to open up the class and actually take part in it and do your studying. It would be easier to go to Netflix versus logging in or getting caught on social media versus being dedicated to your course, when a classroom course might provide you that schedule that you need. Whichever route that you go, I'm going to stress the importance of an exam prep module, the sample test questions that you'll be able to go in. Set a time frame of, say, an hour or a half an hour, hour and a half, that has a set number of questions so that you feel a little bit of pressure and you go through those test questions. When you get done with them, that'll let you know which ones you got right, but more importantly, it'll let you know which ones you were incorrect on, so that you can go back and study the way in which the question was asked and study that particular topic. Now, a lot of people get hung up on what school they select. And please understand, and this is something that's a lot of people are surprised about, the name of your real estate school never appears on your license, or it's never listed with the state. When someone does a license lookup, what they see is that you're either licensed or you're not. They're not also going to see what your final score was. If you're taking a classroom course, your class participation is not going to add for you to get a higher score, nor is the questions that you ask of the instructor. They're not going to be keeping track of that. It's strictly based upon your test, and it will be strictly a pass or fail. If you've passed, you're eligible to file for the license. If somebody goes online and looks up that information, they're going to see that you are a active licensed agent. Sometimes this information is not readily available. It's very difficult because the brokerages are trying to make it seem that you are dependent upon them. And I'll talk about this in just a little bit as we go through the steps of this. Now, some of the questions I get many times about real estate classes are there real estate companies that will pay for your licensing course? If the real estate company needs to pay for the licensing course, there are a few that do this because they want to grow their office, but I'm going to tell you, beware, be very aware that the cost that you pay for that course will end up being much, much greater in the long run, because these types of companies that take those dollars and pay them towards the licensing course usually start you out on a split level. The commissions that you make will be much less. So the amount that you actually end up paying for over the course of your first year or two of sales becomes much greater than anticipated. It would be better for you to use your own funds to make the investment, to sign up for the course, and really think of it as along the lines that you are starting your own business. You'll be in business backed by or under the umbrella of the brokerage that you work with, and you want to make sure that you've made that investment. Just like if you went and started a corner store, you would have to pay for inventory, you would have to do those types of things, get your business license. Same thing when it comes to becoming a real estate agent. Now, can you use your VA benefits to pay for the license? It's my understanding that the GI Bill licensing and certification program says that the VA can reimburse you for the class, but they may not pay for the independent testing. This is the reimbursement of the class, but you have to pay for the class in the first place, and then you'll be getting a reimbursement. I also get asked, are there any scholarships that are available? And I'm going to ask you to stick around to the end of this, where I'm going to provide you either a 20 or 25% off code, depending upon the select school and select classes. This is applicable for those states that offer online courses. So you satisfy the hours of your course. You take your course, you satisfy the hours of your course. At the end of the course, you have to pass a final exam for the course. The school will then say, okay, you've passed. They will issue you a certificate of completion. Make sure that you keep a copy of this certificate of completion, because you're going to have a copy for yourself. You're also going to provide a copy to the independent testing centers, like a PSI. If you went to the testing center and you said, I want to schedule the test right now, they're going to look for your certificate of completion as a part of your application for taking the test. So you're going to be scheduled for the test. In most cases, again, you can't schedule that until you have that certificate of completion. Now let's talk about the testing center, because the testing center in most states, this is the same place where they do the test for general contractors, where they do this for cosmetology as far as the written information, including hairdressers, barbers. There's going to be the same folks that are in there. You're going to go to the testing center. You're going to be eligible to take the real estate test. They're going to ask you to empty all of your pockets. You're not going to be able to bring in any note paper, any phone, anything whatsoever. You're going to go in. The test is going to get started on the computer. It's going to be a multiple choice test. It's going to be determined on a pass or fail. About 5 years ago, when I got my license in Florida, I had already been licensed for about 15 years, so I felt I knew the information. I wanted to see how high of a score did I get. And I was frankly a little disappointed that I clicked the button, went out and waited for my test results to come back, and they let me know that I passed. They didn't let me know what the particular score was. If you fail, they'll let you know what the score was. They'll let you know not what questions you failed in most states, but what areas. Was it a math question? Was it a fair housing question? Those types of things. So they're just going to cover the particular subject areas. If you fail, there is a minimum waiting period for you to take the test again, and this varies state by state. But again, take the sample exam prep. Be prepared. You don't want to be through a situation where you're failing in the first time. If you do not take the test within a period of time, I hear this time and time and time again, that somebody says, oh yeah, I took the real estate class, but they never went ahead and took the exam. So usually if you haven't taken the test within a 6-month or 1-year period, depending upon the state, you're going to have to go back and take the class over from scratch. So this importance of the exam prep, you want to take the exam prep with those sample test questions at home, where there isn't the pressure, maybe just a little bit of a time pressure, but there isn't a pressure, and you want to be passing at a 90, 95, 98% at home. So that when you get to the testing center, even if you're nervous, if you forget something, if you have a little bit of a brain fade, you're still going to be able to pass the test. Also, I would say focus in on particular subjects. If math isn't your strength, then take the math questions, look for the patterns, memorize some of the types of things that they're looking for. How many square feet are in an acre? Because you're going to need to do that calculation. You're going to need to know the calculation that if you are a seller paying a point of the buyer's mortgage, what does that really mean? Well, it means 1/8 of 1%, and you have to be able to do the math. So studying your percentages is something that will come up again. Now that you've passed the PSI or the testing center exam, Think of it this way. The testing center is going to report to the state that you have passed. You now have to make an application. You're going to start your application process. In some states, you can start that application process before you've done the testing, but in most cases, they want you to be able to pass so that they're not taking up the state resources to go through an application for something that you may never pass. So you have your certificate of completion, you have the past test results, you have the application that you're able to submit in. Some states, as I've mentioned, are going towards background checks or fingerprints that they're going through. And they want to make sure that you've passed before they start that investigation with the State Bureau of Investigation, or them doing a cursory check with the FBI database as well. They'll also require you to either submit the broker name, or the broker is going to claim you as a licensee so that you can be underneath their umbrella. So this leads us to a very important step, and that step is actually going through and selecting a broker. And when you're first starting out, you're not allowed to go out and open your own real estate business. You have to be associated with a managing broker or an established broker or brokerage that has a managing broker. Let me take a moment and explain that. When you first get licensed, it's usually a 3-year period before you can become an associate broker or a broker for you to be able to sit for the broker test. There are some states that call their new agents brokers. Don't get this confused with the managing broker or the broker of record or the brokerage of record. That's what the state's going to have to require for you to be under their umbrella. I also would ask the question, I've been in real estate this is my 20th year. I don't know why I would ever want to open my own brokerage. I would want to be under the umbrella of another brokerage and have the cost associated with the brokerage compliance spread out over a number of agents. Also, the errors and emissions insurance for having that spread out amongst a larger pool. So that's just smart and good business. A good brokerage that is used to bringing on new agents can assist you with the state application. They know how to go. It's not their first rodeo. They can go through the paperwork. They can help you out in getting set up. The other thing that the brokerage can help you out with is in 3 very important parts of your business and getting up and running. First is your membership with the national/state/local association of realtors. This is the realtor board. This is your membership into these associations. This is you pledging to the code of ethics that is under the realtor association. And again, your brokerage will help you get that application. Matter of fact, the association is going to require you to be with a brokerage to get your membership. This is also important because in many cases, in a lot of regions, you have to be a realtor to gain access and membership to the multiple listing system. Not every location, but in a lot of them, they require you to be a realtor, not just a real estate agent, in order to get into the multiple listing system. And this is very important because you need to have the ability as a buyer's agent to look up properties for your potential buyers, and as a listing agent to be able to list the property for sale and enter in all the details and information so that other agents can bring their buyers to your property. So let's talk a little bit about how do you know which broker to select. Some questions that you want to ask about the brokerage is, do they offer training? And is this training just strictly for new agents, or do they have different programs for experienced agents? Are you able to go through the process with them and learn as a new agent and not have to relearn when you become an experienced agent? There are some brokerages that only provide training for experienced agents. They don't have the bandwidth to be able to work with, or don't have the programs or systems in place to work with new agents. What do they do with the money that they generate? So we'll talk about this and how they actually generate the money. A number of times when I'm talking to a new or prospective agent, I ask them, how does a real estate company make money? And they'll say to me, well, they sell homes or they work with buyers. And my counter back to that is the company is not the one that's working with the seller or the buyer. It's you as the agent. And you're the one that's going to be generating the commissions. You'll have a split or a payment plan with the brokerage. So the brokerage is generating that money off of your efforts, off of your work that you're doing. And so you need to know, how do they generate money? And then what do they do with the money after they get it? A couple of good business questions to ask. Who owns them? Are they independently owned, or are they owned by Wall Street shareholders? And I'm not just talking about the local office, but if that local office is part of a larger brand name, who owns them? Are they in debt? Is there a resource available for you to turn to? And this is not a virtual resource that you turn into, or a cloud help desk that you turn to. It's also not somebody that's within the particular office and competing with you. And then you also want to make sure, and this is with some follow-up questions, do they really have a policy of inclusion and fairness? Are all agents treated equal? This is very, very important. So if we look at the agents and we look at talking about the particular items, one of the first things, do they offer training for new or experienced agents? This is very important to you to think about and consider, because it's easy to get caught up in the advertising or the slick presentations that a brokerage may offer to you, because again, the way they're going to make money is by your hard work. And so it's not really that they're hiring you. You need to look at who is it that you are partnering with and getting into business with. Because the most important thing when you're a new agent is going to be your first 6 to 18 months. That most important thing is going to be training. That training that's teaching you how to find buyers, how to find sellers, how to set up your schedule, how to set up your database, how to fill out a sales contract, how to fill out a listing agreement, how to do marketing, not just general marketing, but marketing that causes your property to sell and for you to get more buyers and sellers. You see, that real estate course is not going to teach you how to sell real estate. It's a memorization of facts and figures. And so the importance of you, and then one of the reasons that they don't cover this in the class is you'll have a state, take Florida, or I was also licensed in Virginia. You have different regions of the state, and those different regions of the state are using different sales contracts. So it's impossible, in different language within the contracts. It's impossible at a state level for them to test you on what is specifically in the contract. You're going to need to learn this information from your brokerage. They leave it up to the broker. And some brokerages choose to focus on teaching you these items. Some only teach you what is required for compliance. Others take the additional steps of teaching you how to actually generate business. And so it's very important for you to learn how to find prospective buyers, sellers, and investors. You never want to be in a situation where the company is just strictly giving you leads. It sounds good on the surface, but I always like to use the analogy that if I give you a fish, you can eat for a day. But if I teach you how to fish, you'll never go hungry. You'll eat day in, day out. And from the brokerage standpoint, are they going to give you as the new agent the lead, or are they going to give it to a more experienced agent that has a better chance of closing that? So that's something to look at. Now let's talk about, well, what does the brokerage do with the money that they generate? Are they reinvesting it into your business to support, or into the business to support the agents? Or are they spending it on advertising that potentially competes against the agents, And then I've seen this. I've been with a company before that did advertising, got the leads that came in for the buyers and sellers, and then turned around and sold those leads back to the agents and caused them to have to pay for a marketing fee or a referral fee to come out of that particular transaction for that lead. The brokerage was double dipping. And so this is something that you want to make sure that you understand. When they get $1 in, what are they doing with it? Are they investing in technology? Is that technology their own technology, or is it third-party technology that's off the shelf that you could go and get anyway? So what are they actually doing? And are they investing back in training to teach you how to build your business and grow your business? So who owns them? I touched upon this. Is the ownership at the local level is one place that you want to look at. Maybe a local individual that owns that particular office. And you'll see that in most cases in the franchises, it'll say each office is independently owned and operated. So that's great. You need to know who is owning, not just the broker that you're talking to, but who is the ownership? How long have they owned it? What has been their track record? What is their level of profitability that they've done over the years? What is their track record of helping build successful agents? Are they privately held? Also then at the corporate level, are they privately held, or is it owned by shareholders on Wall Street? Because the way in which these companies operate, a privately held company and a company that is beholden to its shareholders, operate completely different. Also, from the standpoint of owning them, do you have an opportunity to own or at least be a stakeholder in the results of that particular office so that you get rewarded for the hard work that you're doing? So are they in debt? Now, if they're a publicly traded company or have shareholders, easy for me to say, shareholders, you should be able to find out this information with public filings. With debt, they may not be able to handle a market downturn, or part of the dollars that are coming in, they are actually turning around and servicing debt versus doing a reinvestment back in. They've made a business decision in the past that may not be beneficial to you as an agent in the current portion. They have to hit quarterly Wall Street expectations. And I read about it all the time, that they may have unexpected layoffs. That individual that you're used to working with in the office, that management staff may not be there if they have to hit their corporate numbers. Now, if you want to have fun in an interview with the real estate company, ask to see their annual profit and loss statement. Most of them are going to squirm. Companies that are agent-centric will talk to you about the process of their accounting and how you can benefit and how they're actually an open book company. Now, is there a resource available for you to turn to? And I'm talking about not something that's in the cloud, not something that you go to a help desk and hope to get a chat back. If I wanted to do that, I could call any numbers of companies that ask me to go through a decision tree. I want to know, is there somebody available that I can talk about my business and my growth, and not just there when I have a problem on a deal? I need to have someone that can help me, especially early on in my career. See, early on in my career, I met with my broker to discuss an upcoming listing presentation. I was trying to strategize about how to get this seller to list with me. The broker did provide me with some information. Comes to find out they were probably generic tips because I was a new agent at the time, so I didn't know any better. So I went to actually go to show up for the listing appointment, and guess who was walking out of the house as I was walking towards the house? You got it. It was my broker. My broker was actually actively selling as well, and they ended up getting the listing. Now, at the price point that we were talking about at the time, this turned out to be about a $20,000 lesson that I learned the hard way. Some brokerages address this. They have non-competing staff positions that are available in the office that is focused on helping you grow your business. You're not going to turn around and see them walking out of the listing that you're walking into. Now, very important, do they have a policy of inclusion and fairness? Are all agents treated equal? At this same first brokerage that I worked with and I started out with, I was there for about a year, and then I discovered through different discussions, that other agents had commission splits that were not available to me. Now, you can imagine how I felt about this. They had sweetheart deals, or they had higher splits that I could never achieve. Even if I walked into my broker and said, hey, what about this? They were already grandfathered in, or they were different types of deals that they had. And I began to observe and notice that these agents also had different requirements with regards to leads that came into the office, with regards to their attendance on mandatory desk duty or meetings that were being held. They got different treatment that went on. They were allowed to cut their commission or waive certain fees without penalty, where I, as a new agent, if I was to waive that fee, I had to make up the difference out of my own pocket. Now, the current brokerage that I'm with has the same structure for new agents all the way up to 20-year experience agents. I'm really not worth more or any less than a potential new agent or a experienced agent. My contributions, my potential financial contributions to the office are the same, and this eliminates favoritism. This eliminates this situation where we have unequal playing fields. If you're allowed to keep more of your commission, you're allowed to do more things to market and promote a property than another agent that has a sweetheart deal within that office. I also have the say in my office as to how the office is run and how the office money is spent. It's very refreshing. It's very much something that I sought out in my real estate career, and I feel I owe it to you to share this information. So to recap, there's some certain requirements, some prerequisites that you have to have. I'm going to link to a playlist up here so that this information is available to you so that you can select your own state and see the specific prerequisites and the steps that you need to take for the real estate course. We talked about the real estate course, the purpose of the course, and the benefits of a classroom course versus an online course. In my experience, I'm always going to go, if it's available with the online course, it gets me up and running sooner rather than later. It also is in the format that allows me to work with my schedule to go through the class a little bit quicker, and it's the same format as the final exam. Talked about the exam prep and how important that is, getting your certificate of completion, going to the testing center, going through the testing center, getting your application submitted in, and how the broker can help you with your state application, also with the application to the associations, the realtor associations, the MLS system, and the lockbox system. And then I talked about some of the differences in brokerages so that you have the details of some of the questions that you want to ask and some of the information. Now on our website, digitalagentshow.com, if you need help finding a broker within your particular area, you can go to that site. We'll have a little button on the side that will say, help me find a broker, and I'll be able to follow up with that information and put you in the right direction. So I hope this answered a lot of the questions that are coming through. I know that I've gone through my checklist. I see that I've been able to cover those, and hope that all goes well with you. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or let us know. So until next time, make it a great day.